This is your Monday Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here, Patrick Reusse here as well. I've got an overflowing set of notes here, Patrick, because it's the week that keeps on giving. We got to start, Patrick, with the Vikings. Poor Jake Browning had to throw about 1 million passes the other night because he was the only available quarterback, because every other quarterback is shut down either because they have COVID or they are a close COVID exposure. This was inevitable. It almost seems like, but here we are. We were barely into August and already Kirk Cousins and Kellen Mond. Kellen Mond, it sounds like he was the one that has COVID, even though he is reportedly vaccinated. I think we can say for certainty now that Kirk Cousins is not vaccinated, and away we go. What was your first thought when you heard this story and how they had to throw Jake Browning out there for pretty much the whole night practice the other day?
Well, it's very weird, but what is interesting is, so the reason that Zim is all upset, even though Mond was vaccinated apparently, is because if the other two guys, which are Stanley, who is probably done here, and Cousins, if they had been vaccinated, they would have been allowed to continue to practice, right? Wasn't that the situation?
That's the case, right? If you're vaccinated, you don't have to quarantine, even if you were a close contact, as long as you're negative.
Yeah, so that's why he's so upset at Cousins and Stanley, and Mond is, that's a little frightening that he's vaccinated, and if he's vaccinated and still is the guy that came up with it, is it's hard to blame him, isn't it?
Yes. If he's vaccinated and he gets it, that's it's kind of bad luck, right?
But it's Kirk, which the funny thing is, I thought that Zim was coming around on Cousins, didn't you? I thought he was talked very kindly about him last year as the way he played, and was bragging him up during the offseason when he was talked about him, and now he wants Teddy back again. He loved Teddy for reasons I don't know why, but he loved Teddy, and Cousins kind of drove him nuts. But this is not good for the PR for Cousins, that's for sure, because the public, even though he had a pretty good season last year, and I was out there opening day, I thought he was pretty good in his 15, 20-minute interview. It wasn't his usual annoying self. And now he's back in the outhouse with everybody again. He could practice perhaps within 2 days, though, right? It wasn't.
I think Cousins has to wait 5 days. I think the unvaccinated players have to wait 5 days.
Okay, all right.
I'm just reading. I'm reading the reading the Andrew Kramer story right now from our website. It says Mond is vaccinated, and if he tested positive and is asymptomatic, he can return as quickly as 48 hours after 2 negative tests. Cousins being isolated as a close contact indicates he is unvaccinated and subject to a 5-day quarantine. And the Zimmer quotes were amazing. The quotes after the fact. What was quite honestly, after everything we went through last year, I'm not surprised one bit. I'm disappointed that this happened. I'm frustrated, not just with my football players who didn't get vaccinated, but I'm frustrated with everybody who didn't. We'll just do the best we can. And later, talking about Jake Browning, Jake's really smart. He's vaccinated, Zimmer said. That helps to be the backup. So we'll move forward here. We're going to get a ton of reps. He's going to get a ton of reps. I don't go about saying it's going to go a long way because we got a lot of camp to go, but we'll see. He's out there. He's available. That's important. It's important to be available when you're playing football, a team sport.
Yes, it was good. Now, our old pal Jackson Erdman is from St. John's. Had thrown for them last week. Before camp started, I guess maybe to D.D. Westbrook. Did I read that? But
that's probably right. Yeah.
I got a report from someone that we both know that they were impressed. They said good things about Urban and said if somebody gets hurt, we'll probably give you a call. And well, it didn't turn out anybody got hurt, but it was COVID. So he's apparently going to get to hang around for a couple of days, and they're bringing in some other guy too. But one of the two of them is going to get to work out at least during Cousins' missing time, right?
Yeah, he's got to have guys at least that can throw to the receivers and can run a functional practice.
Yeah, but you know what? There's really nothing I like better than when Zim gets the red rear end.
It's the best. It's the best.
I shouldn't say this to Viking fans, but I mean, I know they're out there, but I'm sincerely hoping that his field goal kicker starts missing a few, because he gets so mad at the field goal kickers. That's what doesn't get enough attention is this moron cut Daniel Carlson after 2 games. Does not get enough. 2 games. Two games. You drafted him. He missed what? He made a few in the exhibitions, and then his last exhibition he kicked poorly. And then the opener, I think he made his only kick. And then
I think it was all extra points in the opener or something like that.
So. It was all the Green Bay game. The Green Bay game, and he cut him after 2 games. Why is Spielman such a wimp? Why didn't he say, no, he's your kicker, dummy, and keep going for at least give the guy a month or 6 weeks or something. Right. They were unbelievable. Now he's one of the best kickers in the league. He's young. He's one of those guys you would have had for 10 years. And instead he's unbelievable with kickers. He should turn his back and look at the stands when a guy's kicking. He should not look, because he goes nuts watching kickers. So but anyway, it's to see him agitated right at the start of camp is kind of funny, but it doesn't help Kirk Cousins, because we're going to have fans back. And I always said that if we'd had fans last year in that Green Bay game, that opener. Yeah. I mean, the way he played to start that game, and meanwhile Rodgers was just carving them up, they would have killed him, man. He wouldn't have gotten off the field at halftime. And the people just don't like him. And we've had many worse quarterbacks than him.
Oh, yeah.
He's okay. I get you know what it is too, Mike?
What's that?
Deep in their soul, people resent how much money athletes make.
Yeah.
That's their problem. They resent the fact that they're paying, that he said, this is what it's going to cost you, and it's going to cost you every dime of it. He was the one guy that was able to say, I want my money 100% guaranteed. People like the NFL system where the money is not guaranteed. And I don't get that. But that's
real.
The public is, we're weird, man. We resent the fact that we'd rather have Ziggy Wilf making the money than having the players making big money. It's really strange. And I think that's probably true in football more than any other sport, where people, for some reason, there's no athletes in the world who put up with more abuse than football players.
Oh, yeah.
And yet we like the fact that, that they can cancel a contract and stop paying these guys. It's extremely weird to me, but it's a different mentality. Football fans, who are most everybody, football fans have a different mentality than most other sports. But anyway, Cousins is now in trouble with the fans once again.
Well, I wrote about it at the time. I mean, he was the perfect Maurer replacement in the money regard, for people being mad at the guys making the money, because Maurer, didn't he retire in 2018? Cousins got here in 2018. Yes, it was like the passing of the baton. You're mad at Joe Maurer for getting his $184 million and not, getting hurt and not quote unquote living up to it. Kirk Cousins gets here, $84 million. It's $100 million less than Joe got, but for 3 years, not 8. And he's the perfect one. It's perfect.
Yeah, it was. And that, of course, Joe is a much easier guy to like, not
much
just
more
because he was
too.
a home guy, not just because he was a hometown guy, but because he seemed to be a nice enough guy. This guy, when he first came in, the arrogance didn't play well. And then after the first year, when he decided to become humble, that really didn't play well because you knew that wasn't the real him,
Right.
So he's, I thought he kind of had refined his act a little bit, but
a couple more points on that. One, do you think the extra, he's making 84 million, then he got the extension for 66 for a couple more years. Do you think the extra 100 from Walls would get him to get vaccinated finally?
Yeah, that could be it. Boy, this guy's, I think he's a well-meaning governor we have, but boy, can he be a moron at times. Don't do this. This drives me nuts. It drives me nuts.
I get it. I get why it drives you nuts, and what drives me nuts is it's basically a drop in the bucket, right? It's only eligible for like 20,000 people, so it's not going to solve the vaccination rate problem. It's more of a PR thing, but it's like the cost benefit analysis, I'm sure, works when you do the math, and if you keep a certain number of people from getting COVID, it's worth way more than $100. But yeah, it's the fact that we have to pay people to get the vaccine drives me nuts, I guess, more than
does drive me nuts. Yes, we shouldn't have to pay for stupidity, but what the hell? I mean, it's these are odd times. There's no doubt about it.
Odd times.
It's funny when if this thing keeps going, I don't think they're going to be able to put the genie back in a bottle. Myself, to get people back wearing masks when they go indoors and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see if what kind of we're gonna have a lot of grocery store rumbles if that's the case. I'll tell you if they start telling us that again. But it's hopefully this thing will. I don't. It is amazing that I'll tell you one thing. This virus is tricky, man. There's no doubt about it. This thing will not easy to defeat, right? That's for sure.
Well, people say, I think at the beginning of not to get too far down this road, but the beginning of the pandemic, to do a fair amount of reading about anything. And, the thing that struck me is, we think about, I didn't live through polio. That was not like my era. But we think about polio being so far in the distant past, and I think I read that polio wasn't completely gone until like 1980. It was like it got pushed way down, and it wasn't the epidemic that it was in the the 40s, 50s, whenever it was kind of at its peak. But if you have a good vaccine, like something kind of sticks around, especially if not enough people get the vaccine. So.
Well, let's get this figured out. But meanwhile, Zim being upset, always fun.
Yes, and always fun, and just the fact that they're gonna, two more points on that. One, the mutual friend who may or may not have told you about Jackson Erdman, he was born at the wrong time, and can you imagine if he would have gotten a tryout with the Vikings? We never would have heard the last of that piece of information for the rest of our lives, would we?
No, that's true. That's true.
And the other piece is whenever weird things like this happen to a team at the start of the year, my antenna goes up. Like you start to kind of add up the accumulation of just the Rick Dennison thing. And then it sounds like the offensive line hasn't been, the young guys aren't great so far. A little injuries
they're not healthy, right? They're not healthy. In 2010, we got Favre back. We're going to go back to the Super Bowl. And then Sidney Rice wasn't getting paid, so he wouldn't play. Percy Harvin's grandmother died for the fourth or fifth time, and he wasn't there. And it just all started. Wasn't that the year Percy got?
Yeah, I think so. Probably.
Percy didn't show up, and never on Wednesday Percy was there. And it just that people started getting hurt, and people started revolting. And then they brought in the moron Randy Moss when he found out he wasn't going to get paid. He went nuts, and that was just. But that season went off the rails in Mankato. and never, ended up gotten Childress fired and 3-13. I'm not saying
No,
3-13.
6-10. They were 6-10 that year.
6-10. Oh, that next year was 3-13, right?
Yes, the Ponder year was 3-13, but yes.
And it was just you're right. There's a little vibe going on here right now that you wonder about. But then again, you see a guy like Gary Kendricks, I mean, they got some good football players, and they really stored up their defense. So we'll see.
None of the weird stuff has happened to the defense yet. We have to imagine. Have to remember that. That's a pretty good looking defense if everybody stays healthy this year. I think Zimmer. That's one of the reasons Zimmer's so chipper right now. I think our guys even wrote about that a few days ago. Like, he seems like he's kind of happy right now about a lot of things. At least before all this quarterback stuff. Before the quarterback stuff happened and putting him in a bad mood. I think the defense being veteran had put him in a good mood at the start, at least.
Mike, that complex they built out there is ridiculous, though, isn't it?
God, it's so nice. Yeah, it's
massive. I don't know where the fans are coming in from now. I don't know where people come in from now, and it's unbelievable what they have created out there. It's a city that he's going to build around it too, with all the houses and stuff and the hotel and everything. It's incredible. I miss Little Mankato, dang it. But
yeah, it's kind of nice to go down there for camp. You see the guys riding around on the bicycles, and just have a nice lunch out there, tab on the Ave, and just take it easy.
Yeah. Anyway, go get him, Zim.
Let's transition into. You're not going to like this. Let's transition into the Kirk Cousins of pitchers. Jose Berrios had 6 shutout innings for Toronto the other day. I think you're higher on him than I am. But a really nice debut. I like Jose. I think he's durable like Kirk Cousins. He's above average, but not great like Kirk Cousins. I think you think he's better than I do. So, we haven't had a chance to talk about the trade on the show. So,
yeah, well, it's they're talking about this Austin Martin kid like he was at the top of the draft, and he's hitting 230 with 2 home runs in Double-A. And I heard a discussion on him with. Levine was on the baseball network on the radio on when the trade was made. Afterwards, I happened to be in a car, and basically the guy has screwed up his swing, and we're somebody's gonna have to fix him because he's apparently had this great swing when he came out of high school, and came out of college, and he started doing weird stuff. And now he's got a swing where he points his bat at the pitcher, and he's got doing all this nonsense, and he can't hit. And somebody's going to have to fix him. And so we got that, and then the pitcher, he must be pretty good. So I think they had to trade him. There's no doubt. But Jose to me is a horse, and especially when you consider how pathetic their development of young pitchers has been. It's been brutal. I saw that they keep talking about Balazovic. He got shut down again. He got hammered the other day. Canarino's the best of them is not pitching. Hasn't pitched since early June. He's got some problem. Johan Duran throws 100. Beautiful. He throws 4 innings a year. That's great. I mean, their pitching's been terrible. I like him a lot. I think he is the definition. Our trouble is we say you can't be an ace unless you're Roy Halladay or something. He's one of the 20 best starters in baseball, and he pitched every game. So that's hard to replace, if you ask me.
It is. I just don't. I don't think he's one of the 20 best starters in baseball. I just don't. The problem I always had with Berrios, as solid as he was always in the end of the year numbers and in making all the starts, I never quite knew what I was going to get from him game to game. And that was what bothered me about putting him into a special category. He
did have that August every year. Something would happen. And I think emotionally, he was a very wired up guy. He's very intense. And I think I wrote this the other day. I think when he had a couple of bad ones, he had a hard time emotionally getting out of those. Instead of having 2 bad ones, he'd have 5 bad ones. And but I do think he's maturing too. And, this is good for him. This is a good trade for him. Get him someplace where, the team's actually trying. By the way, I don't know if that team could make the playoffs because they got themselves in a position. The Yankees are playing good now.
Right.
And the Red Sox are fading, but they have a hell of a club.
Yeah, they do.
They are one of the best lineups in baseball. It's amazing. And, if they get rolling here, apparently their schedule's easy. But in baseball, what's an easy schedule? It's not, if you get to play Baltimore 10 times and the Twins 10 times, then it's an easy schedule. But that is a really good team he's with. A lot of Latin influence on that team too. I think he'll have a good time up there. So I think he should be remembered as a pretty damn good pitcher for the Twins.
I'll give it. Yeah, absolutely. And there's something to be said for a guy in this era who makes every start and is durable like that. And I think the haul they got was a good haul. I mean, and Martin, let me just if his swing is screwed up, he's still hitting 281 at Double-A as a 22-year-old, and he's got a 424 on base. So he's okay
he does
still.
Does get some walks. I thought I saw that he was hitting the 230s, but he only has 2 home runs. Right?
Yeah, he only has the 2 home runs. That's a little bit of a concern. Although first professional season, we'll see if that gets a little bit better. And we're kind of wondering what his position is too. And the pitcher they got apparently throws the heck out of the ball. He's only 20, so at Double-A already.
With the Olympic team too,
yes.
Which is weird. How he got to the Olympic team. The only thing I don't like about him is he's one of those 3-name guys. I don't like the hyphen stuff. Drives me nuts. Let's make let's be like the Latin America. We can use the maternal name or the paternal name, but let's only use one of them. Drives me nuts. Takes too long to type it up.
I think we finally came up with a name for this segment. It's called "It Drives Me Nuts." A couple more things, Patrick. You see our Loons got robbed the other day. I don't know if you saw the highlight. They were up 2-1 against Vancouver. It was late.
Yeah.
And I saw the highlight, and I didn't exactly know what I was watching at first, and I thought the Loons player was the one trying to score a goal, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he got fouled." And then comes to pass that it was the other way around, that they were saying the Loons guy fouled the Vancouver guy, and it was a penalty. It's like that was one of the worst calls I've ever seen, and it got Adrian Heath fired up about as much as Zimmer, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. He was. I just saw the quotes, but I haven't seen the replay yet. But Zimmer's. Heath is. He rags him, man. He gets very upset. Now, didn't we win one in LA though, or tie one in LA?
They had a good draw in LA. Yeah, they had a late goal, very late goal, probably like on the
last. Was that a legit goal? Or
it was legit. Yeah, it was a very nice.
That was not a penalty.
No, it was in the run of play, as they say. But yeah, they've had a lot of draws lately. And there are good draws and bad draws in soccer.
Well, apparently this is a bad draw because Vancouver's terrible, right? Vancouver's terrible,
and they were up late.
And they were playing in Sandy, Utah instead of Vancouver. So.
Right.
Which is weird, but I gotta say I wasn't fixated on that game. I gotta tell you, I was on the radio in St. Louis the other day with Bernie Miklasz and an old friend of mine, and he wanted to talk about Suni Lee and the luring J. Happ to town. Fun with that.
Right.
But I said, Bernie, I heard you guys are getting soccer, right? And he said, yeah. 2023. I said, man, isn't it bad enough that you lost football? Now you have to get soccer too. And Bernie starts stumbling and mumbling. I threw him off his game there, which was the intention, So it was anyway. He said, you were the cradle of soccer. And I said, I know you are, Bernie. And I feel your pain. But anyway, that's it. No, it's okay. They're having fun. And the soccer fans seem to be back at the Allianz and having a good old time, and they got a good team. And it's like hockey. Once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen because it's going to be 2-1 or 1-0. Sports. Those local sports, anything can happen. That's right. I just wish it was like the Kicks, who I knew was on the team, right? They changed the turnover in personnel in modern soccer is amazing. it's amazing that these guys are not around. That they're, Boxel. I heard of him. He's been here for a while, right? Finney, been here, but they come in and out. It's amazing the turnover compared to, the Kicks were here 5 years. They had the same guys every,
Yeah.
And then the fact they leave in the middle of the season. We're happy though, right? We beat Mexico in some games. So
yeah, the Gold Cup.
Whatever the Gold Cup is. Qatar was in the semifinals of the Central America, North America tournament, which kind of has screwed up geography for kids for the decades to come. Nobody knows what's going on, but I guess Qatar's the host, so that's why we invited them. But anyway, but so Team USA, they had guys on leave from their MLS teams, right?
Yes.
To play on this team. So okay, that went on for a long time. So
yep, and we got that, and we got the Olympics going on at the same. Seems like weird to have the Gold Cup and the Olympics at the same time, but the men's soccer is like the U23 when they do have it, and it's a little.
US didn't make it, right?
No, they're not the greatest. They're not the greatest.
And the women got beat.
Women got beat by Canada. Yeah, that's
a lot of rednecks will be happy about that. They don't like that team. That team kneels too much during the anthem. They do not like that. They do not like that. But are they getting a little old? Is it time to turn over the personnel there?
Yeah,
I watch. They got a lot of 28-year-olds, don't they?
Yeah, when I watch that team, they've got some of the same players I remember, but then there's some new faces. It's probably a team in transition. Yeah, they lost 1-0 to Canada in that semifinal game. So I guess they probably be going for the bronze. A couple more bits of information.
That will not do it for the U.S. women's soccer. They're supposed to win it. They're not win or nothing with them. That's for sure.
Simone Biles is back. She's going to compete, I think, in the beam. And we got Wolves free agency starting today, Patrick. Any final thoughts on that before we get out of here?
Who are they going to get? What third-rate centers floating around?
Yeah,
I like Naz Reid as a backup.
I do too.
Maybe they think he's more of a forward. I don't know.
They need somebody that can play defense. They need a big that can play defense. That's probably what they need. And they got a little bit of extra room now with the Rubio trade. They cleared about $5 million in space, so maybe they can go get somebody that's somebody that we've heard of, as you like to say.
This guy that they got is making like 13 though, right?
Yeah, he's expiring though. He'll be useful for half a year. He could be flipped again. It's just NBA salaries, man. It's almost better to have a stiff who's making $20 million because then you can trade him.
It is. I always said that there's no sport where the NFL, the capologist has to be a genius in the NFL, but in the NBA, if you can figure out those contracts, you're the smartest guy ever. I don't know. Anything they do that makes Cat less responsible for playing inside, I don't like, because I want him to become a tough guy, but I guess he's never going to be. So we got to get some other center to play 20 minutes of defense, and then he can go out and shoot threes and get away from traffic, which is what he likes.
Yeah, get that with him, or get that alongside him, or in place of him during times would be a good roster addition. Well, Patrick, good stuff today. We'll do this again next week. Plenty coming up this week as well. Just a reminder, our intern Patrick, Christina Long, is taking over the show on Thursday and Friday this week.
Oh, good for her.
So we're gonna
turn loose on it. I actually talked to her for a while yesterday, and
but the picnic, we had the picnic.
Getting some chuckles out of some of the baseball games she's had to write.
The last two she had to do were like 4 hours, and one of them was like Tigers hit a home run with 2 outs in the ninth. The other one was the 17-14 game, right?
I told her about the joys of covering teams with lousy bullpens, because there's nothing worse in baseball than having everything written and then poof, there it goes.
Or so it seemed. Is the turn of phrase you like to use there.
One whole Kim from the Diamondbacks in 2001.
Yeah.
I cast some slurs at that fellow in games 4 and 5 when he had them both won. So,
and they still won that. I don't know how they still won that World Series after all that happened.
That was a hell of a series. All right, sir.
Thank you, man. We'll see you next week.
Goodbye. See you.